I'm excited to be with you today to talk a little about Mercury going retrograde 3 to 4 times every year. So what I'm hoping to do in this video is to share with you how it applies to this particular retrograde. What are the kinds of things you might anticipate, and also to take some of the fear away from it so that you can use Mercury retro in a really positive light. Now, don't be surprised if we have little glitches. It looks like we just had one now where people have said, "Where is she?" But it looks like I'm back. So should you be afraid of Mercury retrograde? No! That's the whole point of astrology, is that it gives you a heads up of the kinds of energies that are coming up. And you can begin to prepare yourself and use the energy in a constructive and positive way. So that's my intention of doing this live stream with you today, and to examine together what the fears are, what you're worried about, and then see if I can allay some of those fears so that you can see it from a different perspective. So every year, the Mercury retrogrades tend to fall into a certain element. Sometimes it's fire, earth, air, water. This year it's water, largely. Right now we're in a retrograde that is going from Leo into Cancer. So from fire and gradually back into water. And then October the 31st to November 21st, we have got a Mercury retro in Scorpio. We had the one earlier this year in March, was in Pisces. Now Leo to Cancer, and finally Scorpio. So all 3 water signs are represented this year in Mercury retro. So what does it mean? What it means is that one of the big lessons this year for Mercury retrograde times is to learn how to listen compassionately, to learn how to listen and to put yourself into somebody else's shoes, to learn how to listen to somebody who might have a lot of emotional things going on, and to be able to maybe just give your time and space to be able to hear someone. It's amazing sometimes you don't even need somebody to advise you or tell you something. Sometimes you just need to be heard. And so that's the encouragement that this Mercury retro is really pulling from you at this time. So if you can remember that this can be quite emotional, but if you can look at other people and see that they've got emotions going on as much as you have, then you might find that you are ready to listen just that little bit longer to something that someone's going through. Just to let them get it off their chest. Might have nothing to do with you. But if it's something very releasing, if you can allow somebody, and especially if somebody allows you to download what's been going on. It's just a big relief very often. And if you can't find a person, there's nobody around, then during Mercury retrograde it's a perfect time to write it, to write your emotions out, really to feel what's happening and just to get them out. So in answer to you, Isabella, you're asking, is it a good time to present your dissertation during Mercury retro? Well, here's the great thing about Mercury retrograde, is it's a wonderful time for completions. So if you've started something before the retrograde, it can complete during the retrograde. So sometimes people say to me, oh, you know, is it a good time to launch a website? Well, it can be. Not always. I usually look at somebody's personal chart to see whether in fact there are other mitigating factors that might affect the launch. But sometimes you can launch something very successfully during a retrograde if you've been doing the legwork beforehand. So, what to avoid during Mercury retro? Oh, mostly astrologers will tell you this. So let's get these out of the way. These are generalizations, and if you have to sign important documents during a retrograde, then just make sure you check them really carefully. And let's say there's a sale of a house going through, or you're moving home. And if you're moving home, it may actually complete during the retrograde. So don't be afraid of it. It's very wise to back up your hard drive, to download any software, ideally before or after the retrograde, if you can. Now, if you can't, it's something urgent, it's something important, then just double check, triple check, and be prepared for an odd glitch here or there. Just say to yourself, okay, I'll just tolerate that, I'll put up with that. And just be aware that things might not work terribly well during a retrograde. You see, I wouldn't say don't book travel tickets, plane and train and all that. Just be aware that you might want to change your dates. So if you book something during the retro, see if you can get a flexible ticket. Keep your receipts. Anything that you do buy, keep your warranty. Ask if I change my mind, which often happens after the retrograde. It's like, oh, don't think I want that anymore. Then it'll be easier to do so. Now, I've got to tell you that traveling during a Mercury retro can be wonderful, especially if you prepare for it. If you just say to yourself, you know what, if there's a delay, I don't mind. It won't ruin my holiday, I won't allow it to. And maybe you'll have a favourite book with you, or a film, or just something. And you'll make good use of the time that Mercury is retro. And the other thing to share with you is that very, very often I've had the most wonderful travels during Mercury retrograde. And I'm aware that for many of us, it's summer holiday time, and many of you will be traveling. So it could in fact go even better than you anticipate. Somebody from your past can come back into your life. thoughts about the past, things that you've been thinking about for a while. You start to go deeper. During Mercury retrograde, it's a wonderful time for doing research, for getting information together. Oh, you can get to the bottom of things. It's marvellous for that. And sometimes things that you maybe do with your hands. So anything that you do with your hands, because Gemini rules Mercury, and Virgo too. And very often Gemini and Virgo are good with their hands. So when it is retrograde, David, yes, if you've got an audition during a retrograde, as long as you've been preparing beforehand, then it can be wonderful during the retrograde. So things that you've done with your hands. So today, I thought about it. I thought, shall I put these couple of pictures up on the wall? And I thought, I knew it was Mercury retrograde. I thought, okay, I'll put them up, but chances are they might fall down. Well, actually, several hours later, the pair of them came down at once, together, boom, boom, boom. So just be aware that anything that you might fix or do during a retrograde might get undone. It's a wonderful time for decluttering. Great. Perfect energy for re-words. Thank you, Indigo Awakener, all here for me. Renew, release, refresh, re-energize, renounce, respond, reprogram, repair, reorganize, redesign, revisit. Thank you. Reassess, revive. You might find yourself tired, all of a sudden, just needing to have maybe a little bit of a nap. Let yourself nap. You'll be revived from it. You'll feel better. So, good time to make a list of things that you don't need anymore. And then systematically during the retrograde, just keep clearing yourself. Keep clearing, keep clearing. It's a good time for reminding people about something. Rejuvenate, realign. I'm going to remind you that I'm on Instagram now, at Barbara Gold 111. And I do hope you'll join me for my almost daily Astro Bites, 1 minute aspects for the day. So just allow yourself and your brain and your mind to take a little bit of a time out. That's what Mercury retro is. It's time out for the brain. Einstein apparently got his best ideas when he was off in nature or off on a boat somewhere. So maybe you want to do that. You might find yourself a little stuck for ideas. Or just the opposite, loads of them coming in. And if there's nothing much happening, it just means your mind, mentally, you need a break. So, great time to do it. You could continue your intentions from the eclipse, because we're right in between eclipses. We've got another one coming up on July the 17th, 16th, 17th. So really, yes, good time to think about the eclipse energy, but also right now, there you are, you might go back to something. This morning I went back to composing. Haven't done it for a little while, and there I was suddenly composing this morning out of the blue. So it's a very good time to go back to something you used to do, used to enjoy, an old lover, an old creative endeavor that you enjoy. So there could be reversals in the stock markets, reversals in markets generally. I'm being asked who my favorite composer is. I've got many. I don't know that I could narrow it if I had to. I don't know. Probably Beethoven if I had to, if it was classical. What if you get a job offer during a Mercury retrograde? Well, if you applied before, then the offer coming through in the retrograde, great. But just make sure, if you're signing a contract, that you check it really, really carefully. That's the main thing. And maybe have somebody else check through to make sure that the terms are what you're looking for. Thank you for following me on Instagram, Iron Fire Horse. Love all these names. So Mercury retrograde is a really good time for rethinking something through. Yes, really taking the time to rethink something. For example, I was all set to come to England for a couple of weeks. I had everything booked, it was all ready to go. And then I began to reevaluate things, and doing that a little more deeply, I realized, hey, this is just not a good time to go. And it's better to wait. So during Mercury retrograde, you might find yourself really saying, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to wait a little while. Is it a good idea to apply for jobs during Mercury retro? Absolutely, why not? But just make sure when Mercury goes direct that it is in fact the job you wanted and not something you thought it was. So I think more than anything, it's time to give your brain some relaxation. So anything that relaxes your brain and takes you into that delta slower state is wonderful. For example, meditation, any kind of hypnosis, audios are great. Any kind of breathing techniques, yoga, tai chi, qigong. But just where your brain can have a little bit of a holiday. When does it end? The 31st. How do you know if you change your mind if it's a channeled suggestion coming in? Well, it might be a channeled suggestion, but then it means just trusting my heart and my gut, and also my mind. Yes, good time for research and mindfulness, but not pushing at it. It's more just letting your mind unwind. Yes, let it rewind itself. Yeah. So the main thing is just not to be afraid of it, and to see that if you use it in these ways that I'm suggesting here, you'll get a lot of benefit from this Mercury retrograde. And I can say to you that you might find that people are a little crazy during Mercury retrograde. They say weird and wonderful things. And I would say to you, don't take things too personally. Sometimes as the mind is unwinding a little, it kind of, goes a little bit strange. So, yes, make allowances for that in other people and also in yourself. You might find yourself not thinking straight. Might find yourself stuttering over your words. Does it matter which house it's falling in? Good questions. Thank you, everybody. You're asking fabulous questions here. Yes, it does. And if you know your chart, then look for the house where Leo and Cancer are, and you'll see which life area is being triggered. But nonetheless, if you don't know it, it doesn't matter, because I'm giving you the nub of it, if you like. It's a wonderful time for healing communications. It's a time when you can really just pray that the words and the thoughts that you have are kind ones. You can ask for help with it, because very often somebody bashes into me while trying to get onto a bus or a metro here. I can't say I've got very nice thoughts about them initially. So it's about just trying to catch that in yourself, if you feel it. Not everybody will. So what can you avoid doing? I would probably avoid doing repairs on machinery during Mercury retro, if you can, because it tends to mean that you might have to do them again when Mercury goes direct. Not necessarily, but if you can avoid it, you try. Yes, you can get a free natal chart from my website, if you like, yourastrologysigns.com. If you go under free tab and free report, if you put in your date, time and place of birth, you'll not only get your chart, but also a free mini reading. So you might want to look at that. Repairs on anything electrical particularly. Computer, fridge, washing machine, those kinds of things. Anything that involves electricity is often affected by Mercury. You see, Mercury in Greek is Hermes. So Hermes is the messenger of the gods. And he was very quick, going from here to there, very, very fast. That's why Mercury rules mutable signs of Gemini and Virgo, because they are able to change and mutate. There's a mutation energy about Virgo and Gemini and the energy of Mercury. So it's an ability during Mercury retrograde to begin to allow yourself to mutate. We know that now science has proved that the brain, the neuroplasticity of the brain, that by changing our thoughts and our thinking pattern, we actually change our brains and then our actual reality. And during the retrograde, you get a chance just to be able to relax a little more and not feel as though you have to keep pushing forward, pushing forward, pushing forward. Thank you, Diana. You're a mutant Virgo married to a mutant Gemini. Like that. There is that ability for the mutation going on with this Mercury retrograde. So I'm going to take another couple of questions if they are coming in. I think I've dealt with some of them as they came in. I very much enjoy interacting with you. I'm very grateful to those of you coming live and those of you coming later. Going through all the signs, I'm going to suggest that you get your free chart online from my website and do it that way, and then you'll see which house it's in, and then if you look at my free video online about the houses, you can work it out for yourself. You see, power to you. So, any questions? Is Pisces mutable as well? Yes, it is. The 3 mutable signs: Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, and, see, Sagittarius. There are 4. Mercury retro. How many people do I expect at my seminar in October? I really don't know. You're asking me during a Mercury retrograde. But I'm hoping that we are going to be a nice group, quite intimate. It's not going to be hundreds, although there may be several online together with me, or at least getting the highlights. Can you meet your love during a retrograde? Of course you can. You certainly can. But you might want to go slowly into it. And especially when it goes direct into August, to see whether in fact the ideas that you formulated about that person are really real, or whether it's quite different. Can I give you a meditation from the Greek gods? Maybe not in this video. Should you continue with your implants or get a denture? Gosh, that's a very personal question that I don't know that I can answer that. But if you've already started something, it can be good to complete it during the retrograde. There we go. Heidi's telling you implants are better than dentures. So there's controversy here, and that's one that I can't get involved in at the moment. You see, and Mercury retro, the phone goes when you didn't particularly want it to go, but maybe that's okay. It's my friend, I think, who's returned to Greece. She's been in Israel for a little while, and I think she's very keen to meet with me tonight, and we'll go and maybe listen to some Greek music. And I might share that on Instagram with you a little later for those of you that are around. Is it a good time to let go of bad energy? Yes, it is. It's a good time for healing old wounds, healing your thoughts about a situation. A wonderful time for that. Training for a new job. Great. Why wouldn't it work out? Could work out very well. Just make sure that you really try to calm your mind and get a peaceful and quiet mind best you can. So I want to thank you for listening, send you much love, and looking forward to your comments, your feelings, your experiences, and how you use Mercury retrograde to your advantage. Let's share this around. Let's get away from the panic and the disability energy of Mercury retro. We know those things, and we're going to prepare for those things. We're not saying they don't exist, but we're going to go a little deeper, and we're going to find ways to use it to everybody's benefit. Thank you very much for listening. Now I can't find the knob that I need. Much